Crypto market is moving higher, and you see coins blasting through and taking off. Just last 30 days, you can go through this market and find assets which are really taking off. And when you're looking at this, you do have to ask that question to yourself, like, okay, are you observing this, right? When you look at this and say, like, okay, we are breaking higher, we may have a retest and then a bounce. Now that happens in the market, right? You break through one level, you come back lower, then you bounce. Now I agree, it's kind of easy to say, like, okay, once this is breaking higher, it's easy to say that. But we were doing that way before that. When the price was like 0.13, I was highlighting, okay, we are breaking through, the target is this. Now why is that? Because when you take this step and look at these and understand, like, okay, what's the dollar doing, which is the reserve currency as of now, and then how does the commodities actually reflect that? Because the price of commodities, if it's slowing down, it's good for economy. Slowly it will come. As of now, the jobs are there, so it is like that. Now, once the job market goes completely down, there would be a huge difference. But right now, when you take these into account, you kind of see there is massive opportunities in the market, right? Now, you need to take advantage of them, at least after understanding that. Now, this actually is to show, like, okay, we went in 27th June, and then later on 28th, we added few more. And at what price? 0.11. So when we are actually looking at that right now, where is the price? It's here. And what's the market doing in last 30 days? It's doing good. So when you are looking at these, now, if you are the guy who can actually look at the micro cap and say, okay, I'm going in, I have that level of risk tolerance, it's okay. But if you are like, no, I'm not going to touch those without that much volume, I'll actually stick to assets with decent volume. Now, that's going to give you a lot of opportunity. Now, this one is in general with BNB. Looking at the market, the scenario, this is actually playing out. And right now we are observing that a lot of coins are doing that. And now, yeah, we put this chart a little before. And right now, if you're looking at that, yes, you got a correction. So it's like, okay, did we say it's going to come down and then bounce? Yes, right now it is starting to bounce. It's on a moving average on a 3-day chart. And that's actually great to see, like, the price responding properly. Because when you're observing this, now what are you looking at? A move to the upside. Now, in some coins, that would be small move, whereas in some, it's going to be a big breakout. So the general altcoin market is about to break through this level. It hit that level first. It got rejected, but it's not going lower. If you actually look at all these times, when you went there, got rejected, you went down. Went up there, got rejected, came back down. Now, these moves are still there in the market. Vast majority of the time, what happens? You go down. But right now, you have the MACD crossing back to the upside, and you are slowing here. If you ask that, okay, why can't you consider this? Because at that time, MACD was already crossed here. It was way up. It was a time to come back lower, start correcting, right? You anticipate. So when you're at the bottom, you anticipate when it can go higher. And that literally happened from here. We've been talking about that. Now is the time for you to decide, are you going to join this one? Because with or without you, this crypto explosion is going to take place. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we talk crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, we talked about this from 2-3 days. Like, okay, do this, don't do this, and look at this. All of these things are being laid out. But the issue is not everyone would be interested in those kind of scenarios. But if you're actually a macro guy trying to understand what's evolving there, what's happening here, and all of these are there in the market, you don't actually have to do a lot to find these. If you are just in the crypto Twitter and you're following the right guys and actually looking at the right accounts, you actually can literally observe, like, what's happening these in this area. And now, yeah, you can have a different opinion about this, but right now when you're looking at this, okay, that means governments are actually going back, leaning towards free money kind of scenario. That's not just me saying this. If you are looking at people like Jim, now it's a reputable individual, right? And that particular guy has a proven track record as an investor too. So when he is talking about this, I'm like, okay, I'm not wrong. It's kind of aligning with this. And that definitely means you are going to bring back inflation. Now, maybe in 3 months' time, maybe in 4 months' time, we are definitely going to see the inflation slowly ticking back up. Right now, the oil was consolidating and cooling down a bit. That's helping the economy a little bit. Then, if the dollar eases more, okay, that's fine. So, both of these can actually give you a window of like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, who knows? But that window is now going to be too long for you. And if we are observing this, now, if it's me looking at this, you can ask like, okay, are you going bearish, bullish and all? But this is where the price is making a good low. Next one, you're making a higher low. Great. But you actually see like, okay, the momentum to the upside is reducing. But again, what happened? Price actually went up, made a new high. Now, when it actually came lower, it made a low here. Great, it's a higher low in terms of price action. But if you are looking at this, the MACD does not agree with that. You made a bottom here, great. And then when you're making a bottom here, that happens to be a double bottom. Now, if you were coming down, this is a bullish signal. Okay, you are going to get a double bottom. But when you're going up, when the price is trending high and the MACD suggests this, usually, historically, based on textbooks, that's not. And then on the other side, you see the strength reducing. So you can actually stick onto this chart and go away, or you can actually move into the longer time horizon, and higher time frames actually show you this. Like last time you got a wick here, you corrected back down to the support. Right now you're actually getting that. Now the week is not over yet. You still have time. I agree. But if this plays out, you're first going to look at this range. And if that breaks out, you're going to come lower. So as the dollar corrects back down, most likely oil is actually going to go higher a little bit, not too much, to retest this range which it actually broke. So if you are going back up to test this range, that means the oil price, when you're going to refuel your vehicle, you actually will see a little bit of increase, but not like the peak. Now, after that, if it actually drops below this level, that is going to be super bullish, because now for at least a short period of time until you actually hit your different levels, you are going to see the prices come down. On a macro picture, that is not bad. Now, when you are in the market, you're going through all these different news and asking like, what's happening? The payment system is changing. And if you look at that area, India, China, Russia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all of these are slowly moving on to a new system. Now, when we look at that, it's like the biggest demographics. Like, if you are a big company trying to build a product, you want a booming middle class with a lot of population and youngsters. So you can actually target them. They're entering the workforce. They're going to make money and they're going to spend. No one in our school teaches money. So automatically this happens. Now, why am I highlighting this? When you actually listen to this, if you follow me, you actually saw that. Otherwise, you can go to the Daily Wire and see this. I'm like, okay, that guy is genuine. Schools didn't teach him how the financial world works. And he's right now complaining. And look at that politician. They made this issue in the first place. And they will never agree that. They will print more and more and more. And if you look at that, it's really sad to see people in this position in their life where they see like, okay, they did the right thing, but right now governments are going to help those who didn't actually do the right thing. So when you actually look at all this, if you are inside this, that's actually mind-blowing. Now, this was actually a new information for me, I think as well for Darren here, and shout out to him. I actually saw this from his retweet. Now, if Ether was created by this guy, he's an intelligent guy, and a bunch of kids, one of that kid happens to be stealing the idea from Ripple. We know that. Okay, this guy's tagged here. And they moved it to Switzerland way before everything. So now you're like, okay. That means the early guys in that project moved out because they saw a lot of flaws and they went on to build something even better. Now, if you look at Cardano and you understand the system, you already understand that. But what happens is these guys, the kids, they are really intelligent in another way. They go on with the regulators. And right now the issue is those great projects which doesn't have these flaws, they are fighting with the regulators because these guys are already behind the regulators, making them a dummy. And if you really look at that in a lot of different ways, you can understand like, okay, right now everything is moving, and when it is moving, you want to actually focus on the real project, not that dummy project. Great. Now, this one, shout out to Zero Hedge for actually showing this one. I'm like, okay, this just indicates like the interest rates are not going lower yet. They're still going to climb higher, maybe not with the same pace, but they're still going to go higher. And that means your mortgages are going to get even expensive. So one thing you need to understand is this is not good. And you have an opportunity to position yourself correctly so that when this takes off, you have the advantage in the market. Now, if you're in one asset, XRP, this is one of my biggest position, and I'm like, okay, great. But with the SEC case, we may be slow compared to other assets. So having that position there, and if your average is lower, that's great. If your average is higher, you now have the time to average down. But if you are like, okay, I don't have too much time, if the SEC case gets delayed, these guys are bleeding us in terms of time, then you can actually look at the general market and say like, okay, which asset is getting volume? And make sure that has fundamentals. So that if it's taking off with enormous volume, you can keep some part of it as a long-term trade and trade the rest. This actually makes a lot of sense for me because when I'm looking at the market, this is continuing to high and it's going to break higher in my opinion. You do what you anticipate in the market. You anticipate and learn. Because now you're anticipating, you don't know how the market is going to do, but you take a calculated guess that it's going to move this way. And if it's not, or if it's volatile and doing something, you learn from how the market is moving. And as we do this, we now get a clear understanding of, okay, most likely you broke above this moving average. You came, you retested this, and you're going to bounce. Some of these comments, I'm actually looking at all of them. And as I look at them, I feel like, okay, people say like, okay, you are repeating same stuff. And I'm like, yeah, from last 2 months, if you're looking at this, by the time we were coming here, I was saying this. Yeah, we are going to bounce. And when we are bouncing, whether you're here or here, your resistance is still here. Now that actually makes a lot of sense when you look back at these assets. When we are at here, this point, it's really, looking at where is the resistance. And we moved up to there. And now when you're breaking out, you look at these targets and you go through them. But right now, yeah, we are somewhere close to here. So you already hit the level 1 and you're going for the level 2. So if you're early, you already, have 100% or 150%. If you're trading, you took like 50%, 30% different positions out and you're moving into different assets, which poses similar opportunity. So right now inside this, the question then comes like, okay, when the market is going to do this, which assets are actually going to perform well? So now you have an opportunity to go individually. Say now random pick, Cardano. We'll actually go on to Cardano and go see like, okay, on a weekly chart, what's it doing? Now you can actually go into different charts like, okay, this one we don't have Renko chart. Otherwise we'll actually go to Ignashi here. Now, if your exchange actually gives you Renko chart, that's actually a good one to actually avoid the time barrier because it's not actually that time motivated. It's more like the price fluctuation. So that gives you a little bit less noise and gives you an advantage over the market. Now, here the MACD has crossed higher. Great. You're looking for your indicator, which in this term is your RSI. And you're saying, okay, we are really close to a breakout in a macro scenario. Now, if you look at a little bit short term, in between that, you already broke higher, but still, you haven't actually managed to break above this particular level. Whereas the asset which we talked before, which is like, Chili's, you actually go look at like, okay, what's happening? Now, we had a post about this couple of months back when we were at the bottom. And that's one of the reasons why we entered that trade. Like, World Cup for football is coming in. Sports is getting that fire here and there. And these kind of assets which actually have the network and focused on gaming, sports and all, especially sports area right now, they're going to get more investors. At least it's going to be speculation, but you also see like, okay, there is developers activity. Then you go on technically and you look at this like, okay, when you're breaking higher from this one, there is no question that's a macro level which you're breaking through, because now you understand that the market has been breaking higher from like 500 days of resistance. That does mean something. Now, you can get resisted here, you can get resisted at the next level, but from here, that was really a great indication that the price is moving higher. You have the momentum to the upside. One of the advantage of using Hiknashi is like, okay, you get little noise and you see like, okay, once it's green, you get in there and it's completely green. And at one point when it actually changes like this, you can exit. And if the momentum is on your side, clearly this time the momentum is on our side. How do you look at that? You look at this easily like, okay, here you got like 1, 2, 3, 4 bears and then eventually a lot more in bulls. So something was actually changing. But if you actually zoom back out and look at this, you had a long way of bulls and then bears came in, then the bulls reduced. So there was like a change and then you went into this consolidation. Now within this consolidation, if you look at this, you got like, say 7 candles, weekly candles of bulls, and then a long way down in bears. Then again, a little bit of bulls and a long way down in bears. So now till that point, it was really like, okay, bears are in control. But after that, right now, when you're getting this one, it shows like bulls are back in this game. Now you can go into that and say like, no, I don't actually believe that to a certain degree. Then, okay, in this general market cap, when you use Hiknashi, the difference is it's a lot more noisy because you had a long wicks. If you remember, you got all these wicks and that gets into the equation. Now, if you actually go back, say you use an XRP chart for that matter on a weekly and then take on a Hiknashi. Now, we are being sincere asking that question like, are we still bullish? Right now, no. On this one, no, we are still in consolidation. Now, we know the fundamental reason for that actually, but when we actually happen to connect these, okay, we are at a channel, we are inside that, we need to actually move higher. But right now, if you look at the momentum, bears are actually winning. You got a little bit of bull here and a long way down in bears, a little bit of bulls and right now bears. So what we want to observe here, what I anticipate is that you're going to have a little bit of less bear here, you consolidate here, and then bull starts to take momentum. So you go up. What that means on a traditional candlestick pattern is that you actually make this low, you go up, then you try to put in a next one and go up. So that can be a cup and handle or a different type of double bottom. That's all bullish there. So if you are observing the market now, you have an advantage because you are anticipating with proper educated guess over the market. Now, if you are spending a lot of time in this market, this actually helps. Great. Now, general question is like, okay, what's Bitcoin doing? Because what Bitcoin does is kind of completely impacting the entire crypto space. So right now you take out everything and you're actually asking this same question to yourself. Is there a possibility or a higher odds that Bitcoin is about to break to the upside or to the downside? Now, you can use this same Hiknashi here and ask the same question to yourself. Okay, is bulls leading right now or is it actually bears? Fine. So right now you observe that the price is slowing down at a time when RSI is close to resistance, but the MACD is crossing to the upside. So right now you look at this and you ask that question like, okay, last time when we were there, close to both the moving averages, MACD tried to cross higher, it got rejected. Great. Before that, when you crossed higher, you moved up. Now that was not a huge gigantic move, but still from 30 to like 65, 69 is like a great number. Now, similar to that of XRP, what you are going to look at here is most likely a formation where you will see the price making a double bottom structure. Now, you have actually seen this in different assets right now. So when you go on to a traditional candlestick chart, this is what you actually see. So your support level is not taken off, and if you are looking at this, fine, you have not yet retested this. For that matter, I would more align with the thought process that, okay, you went up, you tested this moving average, you got rejected, right? So on a weekly right now, if you bottom here, you're making a higher low, which shows you we have a chance that we may put in a higher high. So now you actually go on a daily chart to see like, okay, what really is happening there. So this is a little bit more zoomed in view where you actually see like, okay, this is precisely what's happening in the price. This is the volatility range. And when you observe like, okay, this momentum is to the downside here. The momentum was to the downside here. And again, you consolidated within this range and then continued to the downside. Fine. Right now, you're consolidating inside this. So if you actually get a break to the downside, now your support lies somewhere close to 18,000. But if you're actually getting a bounce here in the Bitcoin and you're going to test this $26,000 range for Bitcoin, now you may still have downside opportunity. If you are a bear trying to short the market. But right now, there is no demand in an area where you can say like, okay, we are completely bullish. Now, you can actually say once we break that to the upside, but right now, the only thing you can anticipate here for Bitcoin is like, okay, this is the range where you were getting supported before, getting resisted afterwards, and right now you are at that level. So if you are able to break through this level, now that is a little bit more bullish sentiment, but right now, you are still slowing down and you need to see the price breaking higher. Now, if you actually take in Bitcoin dominance to the picture to get a little bit more clarity, that's like, okay, we've talked about this a long time because we've been inside this range for a long time. RSI broke to the downside. This is on a 3-day chart. You're breaking down. Price is close here. So as soon as you break to this one, most likely you're going to see a long room for altcoins to run. Because Bitcoin dropping 5, 10, 15% against dominance, against the alts, is going to give room for alts to run higher. So to put that into perspective, you can look like, okay, this one was like a 50% drop and this one here is like 20%. So if you put that into the history, this was kind of like the area where you actually ran a lot, which is like your wave 3 in last time, and then a small retracement. So if you actually go back and ask that question in history, what did you actually do? You did big numbers. Now this is for XRP, and if you go on to Ether, you'll see the same running crazy high. Back then we had all these fluctuation when Bitcoin dominance was falling. Great. So right now, if you think like, okay, you anticipate this, like the price is going to go low here in terms of Bitcoin dominance, and you're going to make a new low in terms of the Bitcoin dominance, most likely you're going to see certain coins exploding. Now, why am I actually repeating that? Because in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you are actually going to see a lot of coins making all-time highs, and you would say like, okay, these guys were completely bearish, and a few were bullish. Fine. At that time, you will feel like, okay, this guy was saying something correct or something close to that. And right now you'll feel like, no. The majority is saying we are bearish. Only like 1 or 2 is saying we are bullish. So you can actually really neglect these guys who are right now being bullish, but contrary to the market. So on a weekly, you are waiting to see a break to the downside. Now it's just 3-4 days. You get the weekly close and the next week opens. And we really want to, now the greatest step for us to see is this breaking to the downside as altcoin investors, because that gives the long fetch altcoin market room to run to the upside. So you actually go to the price overview, you look at like, okay, what really is happening in the market. You see like a lot of coins are slowly grinding back up. Now, I wouldn't even look at this one because there's a lot of uncertainty there and other stuff. Now, it's personal choice. But when you are looking at this and then looking at the trading volume, it kind of makes sense. Then you look at the buy and sell, you're like, okay, there's a lot of buy happening compared to the sellers. You kind of get that idea. And you were getting the same before it started. So it gave you some hints to work on. And then you continue to search for these and you're like, okay, all these coins are actually blowing through. And you do have some of them with decent volume. Now, don't look at this. This is a stable coin. It's not meant to do these kind of fluctuation. It should be a stable coin. But right now it's doing that. So you need to understand like XDC is a fundamental network, a payment network, right now having decent volume and slowly going back up. So now you go do the technical analysis and ask that question like, okay, are we actually going higher? If so, are we breaking through certain difficult levels? Say in XRP, this is that range which you really want to see. Now, that was not the best drawing, so I'll just delete that and put this one and reiterate. We are here making this pattern. Whether we agree that or not, the market is doing this particular pattern. So when you break this to the upside, remember, you have 15x after the break. So before that breaks, you need to actually reach $1.8. So when you get a break here, 0.5, you look at $1.8. And when you break that, now you're looking for big numbers. We have done that in one of our previous videos. So if you are here and you want to go through all of this one by one, take your time and learn from the market so that you are well prepared, you can definitely look at these. Like when you have free time, now if you're spending on entertainment, that's completely on you. But right now in this market, you have a massive opportunity where if you want to take benefit of that, you can do that. Just you need to put more time in. You need to spend on learning. And you understand that when you're spending your time properly, you get that all. So guys, if you receive value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.